All right, we're back from break in relatively punctual fashion. So, we are back for round six. It's Olatunde Oduwole against Opeyemi Oloro, who I haven't seen Opeyemi compete much, but he has a WESPA rating of like 2040 or something like that. Something very, very impressive. So, and he's also 5-0 right now, the only undefeated player. Muted? I'm muted. Can you guys hear me? Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. Olatunde going first in this game. He is at, oh my god. That's crazy. Did I get something wrong? I'm seeing in the standings that the two players agreed on a tie game, even though we had Charles winning by 2 points, according to my. I wonder if I misentered something on my Quackle, because right now it shows Olatunde in the standings with a tie, 3.5. That's very, very surprising. Also, Olatunde is from Nigeria, not Ghana. So, all right, he starts out with lure. Hold on. Just getting started. I had told the players that they could get going, which is true. Okay, thanks guys. Thank you very much. Lure seems as good as anything on that first rack. Now the question for Opeyemi is he does have a bingo here, if that rack is correct. He has a 7-letter bingo, an obscure word for sure, but if he sees it, it will for sure be his best play. It's really not much to think about. So far, he hasn't made a play yet. But he's shuffling his tiles somewhat meaningfully. Is he going to see the 7-letter word that's on his rack of Swivets? That is available for him here. So hold on a second. Do I have? Let's try this. Okay. All right, so it looks like it evades his notice. Assuming that rack is correct, this is a pretty big swing. He plays View instead, leaving very, very nice tiles. But of course, Swivets for 80+ points would have been the preferred play with that rack. So we'll see if that comes back to bite him, especially because, hold on, I see the board a little bit. So yeah, re-earned. The only bingo available here. And it's a very nice play for Olatunde, and it looks like he plays it quickly to move up in the score, getting that first bingo down. So not 100% sure what Opeyemi has drawn yet. Ooh, okay, we'll stay on this screen. So, man, it was a really exciting round 5. So hard to beat that. I guess that the two players agreed on a tie, in fact. All right, and it looks like Stressed is the bingo here. That makes a lot of sense here. 80 points, that's the most that Opeyemi can score with those letters, so it doesn't end up hurting him too much to miss the bingo of Swivets on his previous turn. He's going to score 80 and respond very quickly to Olatunde's opening bingo there. And it looks like, is he counting? Okay, yeah, he's just counting the play. He hasn't played something new just yet, which is fortunate, as we can sort of stay on track here, covering the game. So the standings here, if we hold on, let me just. What was that play? It looks like just UH which does not pluralize in this dictionary. No bingos available for Olatunde, amazingly. That play of which I know is difficult to see right now. We'll just keep the board sort of on track here. Play of scoring 28, using that good scoring spot where alongside the last E of re-earned. That makes a lot of sense. And let's see. I guess Opeyemi might be one of those to play upside down. Whatever the players do, they need to be consistent about it. That helps me a lot if they can do that. Maybe it's best to stick on the analysis board screen just so that you guys can see a little bit better. So, okay, so play of Fator. It's as good as anything with all those vowels. The only other thing that you might consider is footy to the E of stressed right here. You can see that as an option. Fator is right there. It's roughly as good. So that makes sense as a play, and that makes the score 103 to Olatunde for 118. Both players with one bingo in the early going. Ooh, look at that. Kind of nice letters for Olatunde. No bingo here. There are some 8-letter words with those letters that just happen to not be available on this particular turn. So we shall see. Stand by a minute. Okay. So yeah, it doesn't look like there's anything amazing available for Olatunde here. Quality of the video stream is bad, I know. So unfortunately, we are trying. So basically what I'm doing is, to the best of my ability now, I'm making sure that at any given time, the analysis board is on screen. So you guys at least have this area, at least you have one relatively clear part of the screen to look at to see the board. I'm totally aware of the difficulty there, and believe me, behind the scenes, we are trying our best. It is a challenge. So, okay, so good play there of pagodes there for 32 points, getting rid of some of the uglier tiles on the rack. I guess we need to undo this. There we go. Oh, nice. A bingo goes down there. Toledin. That looks like the... Oh, well, there was dilation making a bunch of overlaps there. So that was possible on this rack for a few more points. It looks like it's probably worth it. But Toledin, of course, always good to bingo. We'll see, though, if Olatunde can do anything with this spot right here parallel to Toledin. That's a really big scoring spot. So if he's able to... Oh, wow, there's actually, before I even enter into play, I see that there's a very obscure bingo through the U. If he sees it, Scrimure with his rack of crimers. So is there anything else with that? No, that's it. This is the only bingo with his rack through the U of lure. This would be really impressive if he spots this and plays it, and we'll just have to see. Okay, instead he plays crim, which it's really, that's, if you're not going to bingo here, it's definitely going to bingo a lot after crim, scoring 33, covering up this spot on the triple, and covering up this spot on the triple and leaving a really nice hook, not only an S but also an E. So that's a good play for Olatunde, and the scores are now 185 to 168. Opeyemi slightly ahead. So Worth noting here that so there are some serious scoring threats on this board. Right here is a really, really good spot to play a number of consonants alongside the O of Toledon. And then you also have a Y potentially scoring a boatload of points, making Viewey. Definitely a few good scoring spots here. Thanks, Bell Degraded. I know it's tough. Obviously, we would want the board to be crystal clear, and hopefully we can figure out a solution that gets us there. So, all right, there we go. We see one of those scoring spots getting used up right here with Tick for 35. That looks like a reasonable option here. Another choice could have been if you wanted to use both. If he wanted to use both the K and F, he could have done so by playing Khalif in this spot, but it's hard to argue with Tick here for 35, covering up arguably the more dangerous scoring spot, although it does open up the triple in response here. But we're going to see, wow, two Olatunde's rack of EIRS, he's drawn C L blank. And I'm going to guess that he's making this Clivers in this spot here. Oh, wow. Check this out. Playing really fast, but look at the play that he could have played on the analysis board with those same letters. 85 points for relicts, making lure, U, nut, and EHS. That would have been amazing. So Clivers, I believe that's the only letter that blank can be here. And still pretty good, getting him 75 points. A few extra points would have been on the table there for him there, though. So we'll go back here. Oops. What did I do? Hold on. Stand by. I don't really know how to handle the players not being consistent with whether they play upside down or not. That's challenging. That's been challenging. All right. Oh my gosh. If that rack is accurate, there's even another crazy bingo available here through the A of re-earned lava form. That's shocking. If Opeyemi sees that, then he really deserves to bingo here because that is an extremely improbable bingo. I think in all likelihood his eye instead is going to be drawn to the upper corner. I think he's going to want to play to that upper left corner unless he somehow manages to think of this bingo. He would have to know it, first of all, and then even look for an open letter, an open A, in fact. And let's see, he's going to play Volar up in the corner. That looks like a pretty strong play, barring the bingo. Obviously, that bingo would be a tremendous find for anyone in that situation. The board is just, did the board just spin in complete 360? Either way, that's a solid play, but of course you would definitely want to see that bingo here. So, all right. Back over to Olatunde. The game is super, super close. He's got a Z, and there are oh man, there's one place in particular to play this Z that would be crazy if he spots it. And it looks like he is just playing... I think he's just playing HOI. If that rack is correct, he had potentially in play Gazabo for 52 points on top of the letters of Fator. So that's a slight miss, but obviously keeping the Z does improve your scoring chances for future turns. So we'll see what he's able to get with that Z. So... back over now to Opeyemi. So his rack is different from that. We had seen he just played Volar from that rack. He's playing something else now. Let's see. Looks like, oh, wow. Extremely weak rack for Opeyemi. 3 I's and an F. He does have that spot to play his F for 28, which makes some sense. That's probably just enough points to get him to play as opposed to exchange all of those ugly vowels. But not a great situation for Opeyemi as his rack is sort of going the wrong direction, whereas Olatunde has a Z and should be able to come up with something decent here. In fact, if he sees Gazabo now, he'll still be able to play it, not in exactly the same spot. On the previous turn, he had this same play a little bit over, and it looks like he sees it. Very nice. Better late than never. That's a great play. He had this same play last turn for quite a few more points, but he spots it now, scoring 39, leaving GN if he can draw. Well, Opeyemi might have all of the eyes left. He might be hoarding all of these eyes such that Olatunde won't be able to draw any of them to complete his ING combination, but at the same time, that's still clearly the best play. So score now 309 to 281. And Opeyemi has the second blank, which is really going to help, but he has to somehow find a way to use a bunch of these vowels now, ideally in a way that helps him open the board a little bit. We'll see if he's able to do that. Maybe something like imbue through the B of Gazabo that has a couple, that has a couple of helpful attributes. One is, of course, that it uses 3 vowels, and there we go. There is the play. The other helpful attribute of this play is simply that after imbue, you're making a pretty nice bingo lane for yourself. A lot of tiles fit there. S, D. I guess it would be nice if R. R is definitely a nice tile, although there are no R's left in the bag. So anyway, imbue is the play. That looks like it makes a lot of sense to me. Score now 299 to 309. So man, it's so close. And Olatunde, we just watched him compete in an incredibly close game with Charles Taki Menson, and he's in another one now. So we'll see what he elects to do. Okay, he plays Guyane. That's interesting. If that was really his rack, it's a pretty big miss here of Onyx off of the O of Pagodes. You can see right here, those same letters would play for quite a number of points there. So that is likely a miss. 45 points for that play. Instead, Guyane is sort of a blocking move, which frankly, I kind of understand this. It's really difficult to bingo on the board after this play. So it makes some sense. It's nice to be in the lead on the board after this play here. As you see, actually, I was initially calling Onyx a mistake, but you can see with this rack for Opeyemi, he would have had Tabloid going down in this same spot right there where Guyane is, and now he doesn't have a bingo at all. No bingos available. And there are not very good bingo spots to play in. It's theoretically possible to hit this V. It's theoretically possible to hit this O. It's also possible to maybe you can play something with like CR, but again, there are no R's remaining. Unseen tiles, I'll write them out now just so you guys can see. It's getting to be that time of game. So sorry for the spillover, but hopefully that's okay. Hey, Axer Typo. Axer Typo heading to a tournament himself. Good luck. We all wish Axer Typo best of luck at the Lake George tournament in upstate New York in the U.S. So, yeah. without any bingos available here and down by 26 points, Opeyemi is sort of in a bind. It would be nice for him to create more space somewhere that actually threatens something. There are a lot of, well, this is actually a very nice play. Just Batik extending tick in this upper corner of the board. This is kind of a nice idea here. Scores really well, but it doesn't open any more space. Are we going to see a play of Doab? It's possible that he was getting ready to play this. I guess a benefit of a play like that is it sort of makes it a little bit easier to hit this spot. Not really. You would have to turn your blank into an S. Yeah, Dave points out Batik in this spot, which would be great. That scores really nicely. So not the easiest position. If you don't see Batik for 32, like it's definitely, if you look at the unseen tiles, there are no S's, right? So if you are scoring 32, leaving the blank, you potentially set yourself up to do some good things with the blank at some point. And instead we see bad in the sort of interior of the board. That's a surprising play. It doesn't score as well as you could in other areas of the board, and it doesn't really open any more space. So it's going to give Olatunde, oh wow, Olatunde, who has drawn the Q to his X. So often when we have these power tiles, oh, what's he doing here? Pre-earned. I don't think that's a word. So a very ballsy play here, for lack of a better word. Pre-earned. If this word doesn't get challenged off the board, which I don't know, we'll have to see. Let's look at the player's body language here briefly and see if we can ascertain. No, not even a moment's thought. Not even a moment's thought. Very, very, very quickly. Continuing on, so Olatunde getting away with a fast one here of pre-earned, which sounds quite plausible, but happens not to be a word. So pretty immediately, Opeyemi playing what in that lower corner. That scores pretty well, and the game score again is incredibly close. Interesting. Very surprising. That was a huge opportunity to challenge pre-earned, but of course, the game being so close, the challenge rule that we have is if you challenge a word and the word is actually good, it's in the dictionary, your opponent gets more points. I believe the challenge rule here is 10 more points, in fact, which in a game this close is quite significant. So if you're Opeyemi, it's going to give you a little less impetus to challenge that word, knowing that if you're wrong, you stand to, oh, wait, what happened here? It's not, why is it the Ghanaian flag here too? Is that on every scene? Hold on a second. Let me try to fix that. If so, I think it's fixed. Okay, very good. I think I fixed it. All right. So yeah, just to continue finishing my point, it definitely is scary to challenge a word you're not absolutely confident is invalid in such a close game, because those extra points for your opponent could really be the difference maker. We just saw a game technically be a tie between two players. Apparently, it was ruled as a tie, even though we saw it on stream to be a 2-point win for Charles Taki Menson over Olatunde Oduwole. You can see his record underneath his nameplate is at 3.5 to 1.5. That's how we denote ties or draws. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it. Safe travels to you. Yeah, Dave, I know. It's crazy. I guess they recounted it together. I know the game took a while to go up on the standings, so I have to imagine that they recounted the game and still came up with a tie, even though I don't think I misentered anything in our analysis engine. So that was quite surprising for sure. So anyway, Guyane was the previous play by Olatunde, a crazy block, but it was crazy like a fox because Opeyemi had a bingo that got blocked in that spot. So it turned out that it worked out better for him. The only drawback though is that he kept the X when he played Guyane. Olatunde did. I know the board's hard to read, so let's go back to this. So on this turn when he played Guyane, Olatunde kept the X. He could have potentially played Onyx in this spot for many more points, which of course would have gotten hit with a bingo. But now, keeping the X on his rack as he has, and let me get the unseen tiles accurate for you. Unseen tiles here are this. A weird set. There's 3 in the bag. You can see unseen tiles include a J, a blank, 2 T's, and a Y. So, I don't know. Tricky. I don't think the board is very good for either scoring or bingoing. Suggestion of just axe. And I agree with that assertion of what else can you do? Not a lot. You pretty much just have to play axe for 30. It's the only place that you can score anything with either your Q or your X. You have some chance of drawing a little bit of help for your Q in the form of either the I, the U, or the blank. Any of those would be a little bit helpful to varying degrees. And he probably has to just suck it up and do that. By which we mean play axe right here, right? Playing axe. Whoa, my thing is completely off. The drawing. Hold on. Where is it? Here? There we go. Should be better now. Hopefully. Axe, yeah, in that spot there. Okay. So axe there for 30. That's going to give him a pretty good size lead. The players have been playing so fast that Olatunde has a ton of time to think about this. Dave says he's dying to see what he comes up with because he doesn't think it'll be axe. Yeah, it does have the drawback of putting an E out in space, which in general, if you feel like you're going to be up a decent amount going into your next play, you would rather not create a new bingo lane, but the unseen tiles are quite bad. It's probably as, yeah, and there it is. So we do see him grudgingly play axe after all. So that's interesting. I think that was the play he had to make. And let's see now. Opeyemi's turn as the board spins back around, and he has Jotty blank, which normally you would say to yourself, that looks pretty good, but in this particular situation, it doesn't really do very much. And the unseen tiles from Opeyemi's standpoint are a Q and a U and a whole bunch of other good stuff. So I'm very curious to see if we cut back to the main screen here in a moment. Nope, not that one. This one. Wow, it looks like the U is the final tile in the bag. What a tough break for Olatunde, as he's going to struggle to deal with his Q in any kind of helpful way. He left the U in the bag. Salem, they are playing in the UK dictionary. That is correct. They're playing UK English. So, man, that's a rough break, because from Opeyemi's point of view, he has to at least worry a little bit about whatever he plays not making an easy place for Olatunde to play off his QU, but ultimately that's not going to matter here. It's going to be next to impossible to get that Q off. So this score is correct. It's 383 to 347, deficit of 36, which is a lot. So even with that Q as an issue, a 36-point deficit here with nowhere to score anything is a lot. So that blank for Opeyemi is kind of his ticket to scoring decently if he's willing to cash, like with a play like SIJO. Hold on. Do I have the? Thought I had my drawing on stream thing here at some point. Oh, right. It's on, yeah, it's on this one. Okay. So burning that S here is possible to do. He could play something like this, and it would score quite well, and maybe set him up to play out on his next turn. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be enough, but it's interesting. Axe is not valid. Yeah, fortunately, axe is a real thing too. But I think I'm leaning towards I think you gotta cash your S here and hope for the best. Um, I don't know. Like what happens if you play what can happen here, right? You can if you play SIJO right now, leaving TET, what can happen? You could draw. Is there anything? No, you can't really. No, TAET isn't a word, but your opponent can't do much. Certainly, they can't do anything with the Q. And even if Olatunde doesn't have the Q, whoops. Well, we'll get it. We'll get it back here. I don't know. This is tricky. Not an easy position for sure. He's thinking. He just like he was like holding a brochure or something there in his hands, Opeyemi. Um, so my hunch, what would Owl suggest? I would suggest playing my blank as an S right here. Whoops, that's not where it's supposed to be. Right here. And going down now while I can do something like that, and setting myself up to draw an outplay somewhere. That's what I would hope to do. I would be also a little bit worried. Okay, he plays in the same spot. I wasn't imagining that play, but maybe that's fine. Of playing SJOE instead. Sjo. This is a word that is so strange looking, and yet it happens to actually be a word. I think it was worried about AYE. Oh, that's AYE threatening a second play for the Q potentially. Yeah, so this word is some kind of an exclamation. So yeah, Coco Blue Tie, you may already have known that. A South African word expressing surprise. Yeah, that's interesting. Oh, AYE parallel to Cjo. Right, right, right. Okay, I see. I gotcha. I gotcha. Shoe said like shoe. Yes. Um, that's true. So this is the play, and it puts Opeyemi up by 2, and he's going to draw that last U out of the bag, and he's going to see that Olatunde is really hurting here with this Q. There's really not much he can do with it. I don't even know where he can play it, which basically he's going to be stuck with it at this point. Kept the eye to prevent queen. Oh, that's very interesting. So that's a really, really cool idea if that's true. I don't know how to. I guess I have to rotate this. Let's see if I can do this real pro style. Edit transform. All right, so looks like the play here is just YAE. This is basically Olatunde sort of throwing in the towel and realizing that he is not going to be able to bingo here. And the board is like warped. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. So, all right, this isn't going to be great, but hopefully, so the idea that Dave is saying in the chat is that by playing his Q here, this is the most logical Q play that Olatunde could have had. So by instead of keeping, whoops, instead of keeping the E, Opeyemi opted to keep the I to protect against plays like this because any Q play here would give a really big chi counter in that spot. That would be super, super Galaxy Brain impressive. That would be next level foresight there. Anyway, the play of YAE down there temporarily gives Olatunde the lead. Oh, wow, look at this. So this is a phony. I don't think it's going to matter. But this is so interesting because if you challenge it off, you no longer get your U, right? So this play would for sure win the game if it was unchallenged because Olatunde's Q and a few other points for his 1-point tiles would cross over to Opeyemi. In the actual situation, because Olatunde has no place to play the Q, I think this is just pure psychology here. I think this is just pure psychology. I don't think, I mean, could this be a huge mistake that allows Olatunde? Yeah, okay. So here's what happens. That seemed like a surprising phony. Either it was a huge mistake I don't think it's going to cost him because that Q is still going to be so many points, or maybe it will. I'm not sure. All right, so Olatunde wisely plays only one tile here. He plays just new for 8 points. And yeah. So yeah, LEA can potentially go down in this spot now. So hold on. So basically, because Olatunde has a Q that he can't play, he has to get up high in the score. He has to make sure that when the game ends, he is more than 20 points ahead because Opeyemi is getting 20 points for that Q. So that could have been a pretty massive error, actually. I had thought that because Olatunde was stuck with that Q that it wouldn't make much of a difference, but by giving Olatunde an extra turn to work with to dump one of his tiles for a pretty good score, this is probably going to be enough for him to make it over the line here. So I'm pretty sure that almost any valid move would win the game for Opeyemi instead of playing to it, which was not a valid word. But now I think Olatunde, according to the analysis engine, which is notoriously fallible in games involving an unplayable tile. According to the analysis engine, Olatunde just made his only winning play just now of playing his N by itself. Because from here on out, the sequence, if we cut to the analysis, the sequence from here on out is the best that Opeyemi can do is to play his tiles slowly. He can play something like Doubt here. He can play Bonnie here on top of Fator. But none of those plays, let's say he makes his best evaluated play of Bonnie here, as was pointed out before by David Eldar in the chat, you can just play LEA right here with Inu and Shah, and that's going to be easily enough. Wow, wowzers, wowzers. Crazy. The game was completely in the bag for Opeyemi at this point. He can do almost anything. Literally almost anything other than play a phony, and he's going to win the game. Just like Tui here. I mean, any of these plays are going to be fine. Probably his best play is to play Ut blocking the good plays to set up LEA. So that is a stunner. Well, wow. High entertainment here. And I'm very, very impressed by Olatunde's pretty quick play of New there, which was easily the best move, the only winning move, in fact. So Opeyemi is getting ready to play just TE here. I don't know if that helps him too much. He's probably setting up a few extra points by playing his U in this spot, then an I here. But none of those are going to be enough. He has not hit his clock yet. And he only has a minute left to think about this. So this looks like it's, yes, Patchy, opponent is Q-stuck. But it's not going to matter. Oh, sorry, let me actually say what he has. The unseen tiles are just AEQ. So, all right. Opeyemi changing his play to just UG up there for his U. I think he's sort of come to grips now with the fact that he's made a big mistake of playing TUIT, which is very surprising because obviously it's surprising enough to see an invalid word be played at this level as a four-letter word. Even more surprising to be played in a situation where only an invalid word could lose you the game. And perhaps most surprising, it's a hook of a very common three-letter word, TUI. You would see that word on the board quite a lot here. Hopefully the board spun so fast it killed the camera. There we go. So eventually the play that's played is just UG. And now Olatunde has actually he has his pick of other plays that he can do here. He can just play LEA in this spot. He could play LA. And he has a lot of time to think it over, too. So unseen to him is just ITT. Somehow in these tournaments, every game is close. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Let me just see here. Okay. Maybe, I'm just wondering, like, would it be helpful to, like, replace the main board with the analysis board and put the live board somewhere less prominent, just so that the main thing that you're supposed to be looking at is a board that's clear? Would that be valuable? At this point, actually, given that, okay, there's one vote for yes to make the analysis board the main board so that it's nice and easy to see the action in the center and put the live shot of the board somewhere else on screen that's not as prominent. Okay, so the play is just law. That play is actually evaluated as slightly better. For whatever reason, I guess just going out isn't as good as really milking the cue stick further. So you can know that your opponent's best play is to not go out, and then what? Okay, play of it, sorry. That scores a handful, just TI, sorry. TI for 10. And then we're going to see probably, Bane effed. And then that was it. Okay. So when all is said and done and the dust settles, again, not that these scores are final, but a bunch of moves came in really fast. Live analysis board would be helpful. Okay, I'll try to get that set up. I wonder what's the best way to represent that on screen. I'll think about that. Because it's nice to see both the players, even if it's a little blurry. Whoops. So that is just a stunner of a game. Opeyemi Oloro suffering his first loss in a game that he had wrapped up with Olatunde having drawn a cue that he could not play. But when Opeyemi played the phony of TUIT to it, it gave Olatunde just enough time to set himself up with enough points to squeak over the finish line. So that is a shocker. That is a shocking result for sure. So that's going to sting for Opeyemi. But hey, the good news, he's still 5-1, which is a perfectly solid record for him. So I'm just needing to I'm trying to figure out where I should put this live board. Olatunde having a laugh. That's the laugh of a relieved, somebody that's relieved that they managed to come out on top in a game. When you win a big tournament, it definitely requires you, I wouldn't say requires, but it sure helps when you can come out on top in some of these games that are super, super close and that you probably should lose, but you somehow find a way to win, whether it's your opponent makes a blunder or something like that. These are the sorts of things that have to go your way. About to go to sleep when Twitch decided to tell you that the opportunity to watch an African Scrabble tournament stream and a very high quality level of play, still working on getting the stream to be as watchable as possible. Maybe the analysis board being front and center is the way to go. A question I missed there. Rare circumstance that both players get stuck. Yes, that is the 6-pass rule. 6 turns of 0, I should say. 6-0 is a rule that often rears its head towards the end of a game. It's in place when players have unplayable tiles, but it amusingly, every now and then, it comes up at the beginning of a game, which is always a treat when games start with 6 passes and end with final scores like -10 to -16 or something like that.